children of the night.
Kill you!
I've just seen death.
Do you know what the most frightening thing in the world is?
Hey everybody, this is Macabrecast, and today we are doing a little special live show where we have our friend Josh from aka at Decrepit Collector on Instagram. Say hello.
What is up, people? I am ready.
And Ozzie is joining us. I mean, Pazuzu is joining us.
What an excellent day for a podcast decision.
That's really bad. That's really
What
bad.
an excellent day for a podcast.
You would like that?
Immensely.
It would bring you together inside me.
Man.
So today we're going to I think how this got started was you and I were both talking about The Exorcist, Josh, and
yes.
and then you asked me if I'd read the book, and I said no.
Mm-hmm.
And you sent me the audiobook, and I started getting into it, and I was like, man, we should really do like a comparison about this, because I'm so familiar with the movie. I don't know how many times I've seen The fucking Exorcist. 25 times.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, that's underestimated.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things whenever it's on, I turn it on, but or I just like sit and end up watching it.
Yeah.
And Ozzie, you read the audio. Oh, you got the audiobook. You listened to the whole thing today.
Because I don't know how to
The
read.
rest of it. That's true. That's yeah. We weren't going to talk about that, but
I was going to bring it up.
Oh, wait, you guys know how to read?
I mean, I'm getting there.
Is this a common thing? Am I the only one?
I was reading the dyslexic messages sent back to me, and I was concerned.
the Texorcy.
Thank God for autocorrect.
But yeah, man, I'm really glad you guys got to listen to the audiobook. It's really something to listen to, especially for those that don't know. The book is audio recorded by the original writer, William Peter Blatty.
William Peter Blatty himself, and he does a great job.
That's awesome,
man. It's very nice to hear it read by him, because you know, when you read a book and you hear an audio version that's like read by someone else, they kind of do a weird inflection, and I feel like, being the author, he kind of read it at the very exact pace that it's supposed to be read at, and just like it's very very haunting.
And he's keeping characters, like the voices, the same all the way through, and like everything's perfect about it.
Yeah, like when you just listen to him. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, when you listen to him and he's doing the different voices of the demon and the inflections coming out of Reagan, it's it's crazy. Especially when he does Burke Dennings, the director, when he does the voice. Oh my God!
Do you want to talk about that right now?
No, hold on. I'm going to open up.
I'm not trying to get too far ahead of Matt, but I'm just like so excited.
I want to open this up correctly. So first, I'm going to play a little bit of this.
Hold that face for a second. I kind of got scared.
I'm going to read three different quotes. Okay. This is the first quote. Now, when Jesus stepped ashore, there met him a certain man who for a long time was possessed by a devil. Many times had laid hold of him, and he was bound by chains. But he would break the bonds asunder, and Jesus asked him, saying, "What is thy name?" And he said, "Legion." This is the second quote. This is from a transcript recording. James Tertullian. Jackson was hung up on a meat hook. He was so heavy he bent it. He was on that thing 3 days before he croaked. Person responding, giggling, "Jackie, you should have seen that guy. He was like an elephant, he was. And when Jimmy hit him with that electric prod, he was flopping around on that hook, Jackie. We tossed water on him to give him the prod a better charge. He's screaming." Excerpt of wiretap from Cosa Nostra telephone conversation relating to the murder of William Jackson. This is the third quote. There's no other explanation for some of the things the communists did, like the priest who had 8 nails driven into his skull. And there were 7 little boys and their teacher. They were praying the Our Father when the soldiers came upon them. One soldier whipped out his bayonet and sliced off the teacher's tongue. The other took chopsticks and drove them into the ears of the 7 little boys. How do you treat cases like that? From Dr. Tom Dooley, Dachau, Auschwitz, Buchenwald.
God,
I'm not gonna lie,
That's
that
the
was
opening
super
of the
cold.
book.
That was super cold.
So that's the opening of the book. That's what it opens up with, is like the nature of evil in society.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
and how evil men could be to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's not necessarily conveyed too well in the movie.
You don't think so?
The
Do they open it up?
Or
The evil.
Oh,
people?
that opening. Yeah, no, it's not. You don't get that sense in the movie that they're like opening up with like, check out this gross shit that happened.
Yeah,
but I feel like it does a very good job in the opening, like how we just saw right now, where we're at the dig in Iraq and he's at the site of Nineveh, and how Father Marin ends up like leading into a realization that he's about to be face to face with a familiar evil that he has faced before. He has actually went to like battle with this demon Pazuzu before. This isn't the first time.
Yeah,
and not just familiar, but ancient.
Yeah,
very
Been
ancient.
around for a long time.
Yes,
and that's why today we're going to be talking about Exorcist 2: The Heretic. I tricked you, Josh.
Repossessed, starring Leslie Nielsen.
Oh no, no.
Yes, that's right. Repossessed.
So a little background about the book. Blatty heard about this exorcism case when he was a student at Georgetown University, where the book takes place. In mid-1949, a number of newspapers reported an alleged possession and eventual exorcism of a Maryland boy known as Robbie or Roland Doe. Robbie grew up in a German Lutheran family, and after expressing an interest in Ouija boards, his spiritualist Aunt Harriet introduced him to one. It was after the death of his aunt that the family began experiencing seemingly paranormal activity in the house. This ranged from vibrations, strange noises, flying objects, and levitation. So he pulled from that. There was an actual exorcism of this Robbie boy. It was in the newspapers. Yes. And Blatty decided to expound upon that and, make it into this book, The Exorcist.
Man, so I didn't know much about Blatty before we started. We decided to do this, and turns out he was a funny man.
Yeah, he was a comedy writer.
Yeah,
which blew my mind. I had no idea, and then he just decided to do this because why did he decide to just take it to horror?
Yeah.
I believe that it was like I believe there's an assumption out there that like he regained his faith because he was a devout Catholic. He was brought up Catholic, and then it said along the lines like he did eventually regain his faith, and he was like determined to like kind of depict his own struggle with his faith, which is how we see it in the character of Father Karras. And like Father Karras is like, so like he's in the thick of it, but he's so indecisive and he doubts everything, and he doesn't even believe the fact when he comes face to face with this possessed child, he doesn't even believe that it's possible. That's why he's out there to like constantly shut it down, that it's even like happening. What's happening in front of him, he doesn't accept it all the way up till the exorcism itself.
Yeah.
And that idea was so much more prevalent in the book than it was the movie. I really enjoyed that they focus so much on his struggle, and I don't think that was quite as much in the movie. Like anyway, I don't know if we're gonna get it. I don't know when we're gonna get into it. You guys let me know.
Well, for one thing I wanted to mention right at the top is usually when people read the books and they go, "Oh, it ruined the movie for me because the book's so much better." But this made the movie better for me.
Yes.
Okay.
Because it gave me enough background, and I could see why Friedkin took out the parts that he did, where it was a little bit redundant, maybe. But
I see.
And Blatty himself, I think, did the screenplay. If I'm not wrong, I could be wrong about that.
Yes. I think he won an Oscar for it.
Yeah.
For its adaptation. Did he not?
Yeah. So it made me appreciate the movie that much more. I mean, the book is amazing, but I've been watching the movie as I've been reading the book, going like piece
I
by
did the
piece.
same exact.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are we just talking now? Is that what's happening?
What's up?
Are we just talking freely about it now? Is that what's happening?
Yeah, if you want, yeah, or we could go like section by section, but we'll let Josh take the lead on this next part. What do you want to talk about?
Oh, I was just gonna say, you were talking about what were you just talking about right now? I was listening to Ozzie, and you mentioned oh yeah, the things that were left out. Like if we're talking about something that probably could have stayed in, like given what's in the book, what we see in the movie's very tame.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Like the crucifix scene, that's like way more into like detail where like the demon's sitting there and he's like making her do hand movements and he's just saying, "Oh my pearl." It's fucking creepy.
Hanging herself with the crucifix all the time and stuff like that.
Yeah, but she's also like, it's like I'm just saying, like if we're speaking freely on this,
my little honey piglet.
Yeah, like my little honey piglet. Oh, my pearl,
and
my
shoving
pearl.
And
he's like making her masturbate vigorously in front of her. Like it's very graphic shit. Like way more tame than the movie shows.
Yeah,
you really get a good idea of Pazuzu's intentions with Reagan in the book. You know.
Oh yeah, it's a perversion, ultimate perversion.
In the movie, you don't really understand what is the end game, but in the book, you fully understand that the end game for Pazuzu is ending this child's life. You know.
Yeah, I mean he says I'll be done when she lies dead and rotting, stinking in the ground. But in the book, it really gets sense like I'm going to use up this child as much as I can and just drain it of all the life.
Oh yeah.
Before I decide to end it, you know.
Yeah.
So
like
by the way,
go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
What I did not do to prepare for this really is watch the movie again. Not much.
Oh, it's fine.
Because I've seen it so many times.
Yeah.
You know? I did turn it on HBO Max and like kind of look at it a little bit. You know,
Right.
I watched most of it. But so therefore, first of all, I might forget some things in the movies just for because it's not quite as fresh in my head as the book. Also, let's talk about our first experiences with The Exorcist. How about real quick?
I have to really search my memory to see when I first remember that. Why don't you go first and see
when you either read the movie or read the book, or what was that like for you? Go for it, Josh.
Okay, so I saw The Exorcist for the very first time in completion. I've seen like bits and pieces when I was a younger teenager, around like 12 or 13, 14 years old. I saw bits and pieces because, you know, like I said, I've mentioned to you guys before, I grew up in like a household where like I wasn't allowed to watch stringent horror films and like secular films like that. So I eventually I didn't come around to viewing The Exorcist for the first time until I was around like 21. So, and I'm very glad that I had like a little more time under my belt when I watched it for the very first time, because I hate like rewatching movies that I saw when I was younger and then rewatching it and understanding it finally after I thought it was a dumb movie.
Yeah.
But so now that I saw it when this guy has the book.
I have the book on my chair. I got the audiobook. I got the paperback so I could try to like finish it up. I want to say I was probably 15 or 16 when I first saw The Exorcist. And I thought it was scary. I thought it was really creepy, but I thought it was just as good of a drama as anything else, character study. I really appreciate it now for more of the character study than anything, like, as you know, from Chris McNeil and her relationship with Reagan. And the turmoil of Karras and what he's going through, what Ozzie was mentioning, but I was surprised at like how much detail it got into about. Well, I'll go back to my memory. So so I think it was like 15 or 16 when I saw it. What about you, Ozzie?
I think I saw it a little earlier.
4 years old. Judging on my past stories that I've heard from you about.
Yeah. No, it's not one of those movies that, like, you know, when I was 7, I was watching all the Friday the 13th movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't one of those movies. And And I'm glad for that, because this is definitely a more mature movie, not just because of like the crucifix vagina stuff, but because of a lot of stuff, because of themes. And you're not going to appreciate this at all when you're a kid. And you as a kid, you could appreciate something like Freddy Krueger.
I appreciate the level of seriousness that the director took with like depicting how Blatty felt, because like you can really feel how Blatty like tells the tale of his crisis of faith, but coming to his determination of triumphing like over evil, because evil must be stomped out. And the director really emphasizes that when they introduce Father Marin. And like, because I'm telling you right now, like as soon as Father Marin hits the movie, the tables automatically turn, because the whole time the demon's fucking with you the entire movie, fucking with this family, these people, Karis. But when Marin steps in, like that's when it's like, okay, like playtime's over. And I love the seriousness that Marin has to it, but he's also like nonchalantly like
he does. You want to hear the background? And he says, "Why?
Why? Yeah,
this is just another demon."
Yes, because he looks at, he's like, I think you should know, and he's like the 3 personalities that have manifested inside of Reagan, and then he like cuts him off, and he's like, there is only one. And oh my, like it sends like fucking gives me goosebumps when I hear Marin's dialogue, especially in the book. And like how like Marin doesn't even play the fuck around when the exorcism starts, and the demons like slewing slurs and things, and he just says, "Be silent." And like it's cold, dude. It's so cold.
I want to go back for. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ozzie.
I just wanted to finish.
Oh, sorry.
I had seen the movie before, but when I really paid attention to the movie for the first time was when they re-released it as the version you had never seen.
I think a lot of people our age took a like.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And that's when I sat in a theater and I was really faced with it.
I might have been with you then.
You probably were. Yeah. You probably were. That's a safe assumption.
Yeah.
We were together.
We were boyfriend and boyfriend.
Nice.
Like this.
Yeah, touching dicks with the Exorcist and Pazuzu.
Fuck him in the ass.
Yeah, they made a big deal when the version you never seen came out.
Yeah, and you know what I realized this last week going over this stuff is like, because when I was going through this book and I was getting ready for this podcast, and I did put on the movie, but the version that they have on HBO Max is the regular version.
Right.
Yeah.
The original version, which honestly, I don't think I've watched that since I've seen the version you've never seen.
It's been a while.
As soon as that came out and I saw it in the theater, it was released to home video and I bought it immediately on VHS.
Yeah.
And like that was the version that I continued to watch over and over and over. So and I didn't realize it until now, but that's the version that I'm more familiar with for sure.
Which version do you prefer, Josh?
Now I'm realizing yeah, go ahead.
No, Ozzie, finish your thought. Sorry.
Well, I'm just realizing that, thank you, Josh.
Fuck you, Ozzie.
Now I realize that, like, especially after reading the book or listening to the book, because, like, if you remember, I can't read.
I'll post a little banner at the bottom. Remember, Ozzie can't read.
The most exciting stuff about the version you've never seen is not necessarily like the spider walking down the stair special effects. It's more like the more subdued cutscenes that were taken out that filled in the backstory that was in the book.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
There's one of the scenes I think is them talking on the stairs when they're resting, whereas the movie it just cuts to them just like looking at the ground like fuck.
Yeah. So I was watching the regular movie and it felt so jarring and cursory, is that the right word?
Sure.
It's the first that comes to
Again, you don't know how to read.
He can't read it in his own head.
Tertiary.
Okay, I will use the word truncated.
Okay.
All right, there we go. I think I landed on it. Truncated. It felt like there were moments missing from that shit. It felt like there were scenes that weren't there that should have been there. And perhaps I'm hearkening back to the book that I just read, or perhaps I'm hearkening back to the version you've never seen that I'm very familiar with. But I was kind of put off by the original version.
I felt exactly the opposite. But
really?
What do you think, Josh?
Yeah. Oh, I was going to tell you guys that I actually watched the one version we've never seen. We're talking about the extended cut, right?
All right, thank you. Yes.
Yeah. So the extended cut is what is the version that I saw at 21, and that's the one that like I saw like in entirety. So I actually watched the OG version because this has the OG version on it as well. So I watched that right after I watched the extended cut. I watched it too, and I do agree that like it does cut out things for that like dispel like a lot of the backstory to give more emphasis, like Damien's mother in the insane asylum.
I thought it moved along a little too fast.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also too, one thing I will complain that ruined the movie for me, the extended cut versus the book. The exorcism in the book takes place like 3 or 4 days. Like there's like it goes home.
He visits with
it's a longer. Oh, I was just gonna. Yeah, I'll piggyback off what you're saying. He goes and he visits and he sees Father. Is it Father Guile or
Dyer?
Father Dyer.
Yeah.
Father Dyer sees him over at the.
Were they lovers?
Well, yeah.
Going through the book, this was
you didn't get that subtext.
This was the first time I got the subtext that they may have been lovers.
They were best friends. I believe Father Dyer.
I think there was Father Dyer was homosexual between them. I think so too. Yes.
Yeah, I think Father Dyer's homosexual, but like they're very good friends. They're best friends.
Okay.
He's a little too good on the piano.
There's a moment where, like, he went I'm sorry, but what's the detective's name?
Kinderman.
Kinderman. When Kinderman approaches him at the track when they first meet, and he asks him about Father Dyer. He's like, "Are you guys friends?" He's like, "Yes, we're very good friends."
Yeah.
Just saying.
I think it's portrayed in the movie well too, because he's at the piano and he's like, I imagine I'm headlighting in heaven and everyone loves me.
Nightclub and everybody loves me.
Right.
Everybody loves me.
So that's
not that it matters. However, in the context of this book, it does fucking matter because they paint homosexuality as like an incredible sin.
Yeah.
Which the Catholic Church paints it as an incredible sin, which most religions paint it as an incredible sin.
Are religions against homosexuality? I didn't realize. I never heard anything.
You know what? I'm just going to turn on this light. There we go.
There you
go.
Raging. There's one little thing that I wanted to touch on about rewatching it at different times in your life. And I haven't watched The Exorcist in probably like 3 or 4 years. But
I would love to talk about this, Matt.
The thing that really hit me this time more than anything was Karras and his mother, because of things that I've gone through in the last few years. That part hit me way harder this time. Like when she's in the hospital, why Demi? Why? I was like full on sobbing.
Yeah,
and I was like, I've never had this experience before with the movie.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting older. Our mothers are getting older.
Yeah, you're watching your parents get old.
Our second generations are passing. Our grandparents are passing.
I'm still thankful that I have my grandmother alive still. So,
that's great. You should be.
Like so when I watched the scenes and when I listened to the interactions with Father Karras and his mother, and then the ridicule that his uncle gave him because he's like, if you were a psychiatrist and went to Harvard, you'd have the money and she wouldn't have to live in a slum like that.
She'd be in a penthouse somewhere.
Yeah. He's like,
you
Yeah. Who's
Yeah.
gonna pay for it, Demi? You?
It's sad because, and then he realizes like it is true. Like, yeah, like if I didn't join up and become a priest, then yeah, she would be living nicely. But life happened how it happened.
By the way, healthcare system in America sucks ass.
Yes, it does.
And I love it too because it hits him harder too because he already doubts his faith in the movie. So
Right.
it hits him more like once she finally passes that he's like, oh, I really could have saved my mother's life and I don't even believe in this bullshit.
Yeah. And I'm glad that the book had more about that and his turmoil. I mean, you get a big sense of that in the movie, but even more so in the book.
Yes.
It's fucking heartbreaking.
Well, Pazuzu is fucking with him at the very end, where he's chasing his mother down the street or whatever,
his dreams and all that stuff. Yeah.
So the way that it affected me differently, having watched it, like you said, in different
points in your life,
phases of my life.
Yeah.
Now that I'm a father of 3 children, and I have a daughter that's very close to Reagan's age.
Right around that age, yeah.
She's 9, and it's very close. And I have been in emergency rooms with my children, in doctor's offices with my children, just going through it.
Yeah.
And the scenes that affected me more today than it would have in the past are like the scenes where they're bringing Reagan in for spinal taps, the scenes where Chris is having to watch her daughter just in agony go through these medical procedures.
Yeah.
I was breaking up, man.
Yeah.
It was like, I can't watch this. Like, this is so hard for me to watch because I'm just imagining like myself with my children in these hospitals going through these rigorous tests and procedures. And I've seen my kids like lose blood out of their face. And, you can't understand it unless you're a parent and you're there. You never will. Trust me.
Yeah. You feel helpless and you want to help them, but you can't.
Oh my God. Like, my boy bit through half of his tongue, like not that long ago. And we were in the ER and I had to hold him down while he was strapped down to a table in a Velcro like bodysuit while he was screaming, and they were putting stitches in his tongue because they couldn't give any kind of Novocaine. They couldn't put him under because he was so young. And you think you can handle this kind of shit. You think you can until you're there and you're like, I think I'm gonna fucking pass out.
Yeah.
And I could not watch,
imagine, dude.
That scene too.
Stuff with Chris having to deal with her child in the doctors, just going through, and they don't have answers for her, and it's so frustrating,
dude.
So scary.
Dude, Chris McNeil is a tough ass bitch.
Yeah, and that scene alone with Ellen Burstyn.
That was one of the scariest elements of the movie to me. The last time.
Yeah. That scene with Ellen Burstyn when she first meets Karis, and she's going through and trying to get him to talk about exorcism, and then she finally breaks down. Jesus Christ, won't somebody help me? And she's like full on sobbing. That really hits.
Yeah,
that hits hard.
Yeah.
The doctors tell me to go to you, and you're telling me to go back to them.
Yeah,
like she
takes off her big old sunglasses. She's all bruised up and shit.
Yeah.
She's got a fucking black eye.
Still got her.
Oh yeah.
Still got vagina blood on her face.
Wash that off.
That's why, like, I love the feeling that you get when Marin shows up, and the feeling that she gets. She finally feels some kind of relief.
Yeah,
she can't. It's in the book. It explains it. I was actually listening to the arrival of Father Marin again on the audiobook before I hopped on with you guys, and the way he goes into detail that like she can't explain why, but just like the feeling of his hand on her shoulder, the tone of his voice, the presence of him in the home is just like it. She immediately feels it. Like
and
she did immediately.
Somebody finally believes me.
Yes,
and they're taking it seriously.
Oh yeah, because Father Karras was sitting there fucking it could be delusion, schizophrenia. Like he's sitting there telling her these things after he's looked at her daughter for his own eyes, and he's still like portraying doubt not only in himself but onto her as well. That saying like, "Oh, I don't think we're going to be able to get an exorcism because I still don't think that she's possessed."
Yeah,
and she's like, "What the fuck?"
I think that idea was conveyed so much better in the book than it was in the movie. The struggle with with Karras and his struggle was so much better in the book, honestly.
yeah.
And when I watched the movie, I was like, oh, it kind of feels like he kind of gets over it kind of fast in the movie.
Yeah, the realization, like when he listens to the audio tape.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And they tell him like, this is English, but it's backwards, right? That moment.
There was something interesting about that. I didn't notice. I finally watched the movie with subtitles on. I didn't realize that Reagan keeps saying Marin.
Yeah.
I just thought it was gibberish or something. I watched it like, oh shit, that's what she's saying.
You know
she's
what was
calling out to him.
You know what was a revelation for me? Going through the book is that when she was spouting lines like you know what she did, your cunting daughter,
Yes.
I did not know that was supposed to be Dennings.
Yeah.
I did not really pick up on that ever in the movie. And once I went through the book, I was like, oh, she's speaking. That's Burke Dennings. That's
cool. I didn't realize that. I had it written down in my notes. I didn't realize it said she was talking as Burke Dennings when she did that.
I just thought she was slipping in and out of like fucking like
different.
The movie made it sound more demonic than the British tone, but
I just thought that it was like, oh, sometimes she sounds a little more British. That's weird.
You
like,
know what she did? Your cunting daughter.
But when I got through the book, I was like, oh, of course that's Dennings, and he's constantly
makes total sense.
And like,
I did write down some things. Were you going to say something, Josh?
Oh, nothing. I was just going to be funny and say, your mother's in here, Karras. Would you like to take a message?
Yes, mother. Would you get out?
Yeah, can you come on back here?
It makes me think of all the parodies, fucking Scary Movie. Fucking James Woods, fuck this. He just walks out. So,
revelation I had while going through the book. You want to go through that right now?
No, go. What were you going to say, Ozzie?
Another revelation I had while going
go for it.
I love that detective character.
Yes,
man, he's so good. He's so good.
I would watch an entire series based on him just being a fucking detective.
Well, I mean, they focus a lot on part 3 of the movie.
Here's another thing. I've never seen any of the sequels. I think I saw part of Exorcist 2, and I was like, "Fuck this!"
It's all about Kinderman, part 3, pretty much.
Yeah, well, part 3 is like the true sequel that Blatty wrote.
Yeah, I found that out actually doing a little research for what we're talking about.
And he directed part 3.
Very interested in that. Yes. I also learned that, and I'm very interested in seeing that. I will watch it. But I love that detective character, and I never really thought anything of him from the movie. Yeah. But in the book, he's so much more fascinating, and he's so much more cunning.
Yeah.
And
he's very smart.
You sort of think of him as sort of a I don't know what's the word, like sort of a bumblebutt. Like he's just sort of like, well, I think
bumblebutt.
He's like, oh, you're busy. Oh,
yeah,
you're busy.
He's putting that off. He's doing that on purpose.
Exactly. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
To make you think otherwise, that he's not fucking on to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good casting with the first movie of that guy.
Yeah, he's great. I just wish that he had more dialogue in that movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and the amount of dialogue he has in the book is it's good. That's how we talk.
How do you guys feel about the B plot with him and Carl and Carl's daughter?
Yeah,
that was good. It's good stuff, man.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, because
it was in the movie. Do you want to go over that real quick?
Well, I had written down some things that I noticed in the book that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
We can circle back around to that, but Chris's relationship with the woman that's a psychic
Mhm.
and she reveals to the psychic about the Ouija board, and she gives her a
Yes.
warning about that.
Mhm.
Yes,
That was interesting.
I agree with you. Yeah,
The all the talk about black masses and all the details about black masses, and
the
it had a
the
real
book
feeling of
that she
satanic
gets,
panic.
the book that she gets that she starts reading that the psychic gave her,
Yeah,
like the insight that she started getting from it, and then how the book like disappears and then gets put on the shelf, and she's like, Sharon, did you move this book, like, you know?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Kinderman sees it as well in the study, and there's like a lot of, I wish they would have put that in the movie.
and
Oh,
Willie says it
how
her daughter's bed.
Kinderman picks up that weird bird sculpture that she makes, and he's doing
Yes.
is secretly scraping paint off of it
That
under
was
his
one of my
Under his
notes.
fingernail.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that was so cool to
Smart.
analyze it.
Yeah,
And he figures out that it's the same paint that was on the desecration in the church with the fucking
Yes.
jiggle cone titties and the big fucking spike dick on
well,
the.
not only that, in the movie, there's a little scene where he's looking through the weeds at the bottom of the stairs, and he finds like a clump of clay that he thinks matches the daughter's clay. So that's how they did it in the movie. It's like, oh, this is that,
Yeah.
but
I don't remember that in the movie at all.
it's a very short scene. It's like 5 seconds. He's sort of looking around the weeds, and he picks up and he gets like a twisted lump of clay.
Okay. Well, in the
Yeah.
movie, you realize that what he picks up while he's there doing the interview is like a little clay turtle or something.
Yeah.
It's not
Mhm.
that same weird bird thing.
And also too, like the piece of evidence that he gets from the desecration of the church is the brochure with all of the blasphemous literature that's scribbled all over it,
Yeah.
and how he like deduces that Carl was like not the one that was involved, was that he ran the prints, and it was actually like a Reagan's prints on the brochure.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But he couldn't. But he
Yeah.
couldn't prove how Reagan was able to do that when Reagan was all the way in a different city being seen at a hospital.
Yeah.
Right.
So
So the book is a little bit more of a whodunit kind of thing than the movie is.
For
for
sure.
Kinderman's plot, yeah.
Yeah, and I would have appreciated that more if I had never seen the movie first,
Mhm.
just read the book. I would have appreciated that more.
Yeah.
But honestly, in the first half of the book, in my experience going through the book, I kind of felt like, get on with it,
Yeah.
I hear you.
Get on with it.
I think I felt the pacing is
I knew what the end game was, and I knew where it was going. But about halfway through, I got really caught up in the book.
Yeah. That was when it really kicked in for me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. When Karis is introduced is when like it has my full attention.
Yeah.
Like, but the first like couple chapters, like the introduction of like Father Marin, and then the
Yeah, in
big
Iraq
site,
and all that.
and then like him like walking up into the statue, and then like the dogs of war being set loose by like, the analogies that are being thrown around at like this face off between good and evil that we're going to witness, and just like how the onsetting of the paranormal activity creeps into the McNeil house. In the book, she's automatically tormented with nightmares, and she has nightmares, and she already hears she doesn't hear like the rats scurrying around in the attic, quote unquote, what she thinks she was hearing. She notices like a cupboard being moved over in the room, or like a drawer being opened that she just walked out of the room. Like she notices small things, but is attributing it. So he's like, no, Sharon must have came in here. What's his name? Carl's wife. I always forget
Willie.
her name, but yeah, Willie. Like, oh, Willie must have picked up the dress. The thing with the dress being all messed
dress,
up and put in the closet. Like there's paranormal activity seeping in already, because it's a nice transition to show what Father Marin and the face off with the demon, and then creeping into that. Okay, now we're gonna set the stage of how the evil makes its presence, builds up its presence. And I thought it was very good.
That's kind of what I loved in the book about the Carl and his daughter's subplot. Is that he's dealing with his own version of evil, kind of. with his daughter being addicted to heroin. She's a junkie.
I can hear that.
And getting
You know what I mean? Kind of.
fired from his job and all that from the previous in Hollywood or wherever.
yeah.
they're at.
And
Yeah,
having
he was
to
supplying his daughter with
having to
drugs.
flee and also justify the Nazis, you know,
Oh yeah.
constantly, which was much more prevalent in the book than it was the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like how Denny's is like Nazi bastard.
Yeah, that happens in the movie, but in the book, it's like so much more poignant,
Yeah.
I think. And,
Yeah, they
and
flirt with it in the movie.
it adds to, I think it puts a cool emphasis on like the real evils kind of in the world currently that we are dealing with, like the evils that your general public witnesses and sees on a daily occurrence that they might not connect to the
But it's a nice parallel. It's a
Right.
good parallel.
And,
Yes.
and it's even like Kinderman keeps saying about how terrible the world is, which is something he really goes into in the third movie. Is just like he is broken down by the things that he's seen, and he is done with the world. Like he's seen way too much in one life.
I don't like that exactly. He seems like
no, you should watch the part 3. It's fantastic. Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I haven't watched it yet, so like, just
you should watch it. You should definitely check it out.
I know it's I know curse me for it, guys, but
Would you listen?
I have to watch it.
Would you like to get back together once that happens?
We have to watch part 2 again.
Never mind. Off the table.
The heretic. Well, like we already said, number 3, you can honestly skip number 2 and go to 3 because 3 is the true sequel. So.
Yeah, it is a bit of a wordy movie because Blatty did it. So it's like I'm going to put everything I wanted to put in the movie, which is one of my notes.
The book is called Legion, right?
Legion, yeah.
Right. So the book is Legion.
So some of the things that were in the book didn't show up. There's a whole dialogue scene with Kinderman talking about carp going back and forth in the tub when he was a kid. He works that into part 3 as a dialogue scene with Kinderman's new priest friend that he goes to the movies with. And then Pazuzu is named early on in the book, but it's not mentioned at all until the second movie, The Heretic.
Yes,
I was waiting when I was going through the book. I was waiting for Pazuzu to be named, but it never happened because I could have sworn I would have guessed that, like, well, you know, they probably kept that out of the movie, but I'm sure to hear it in the book. And no,
it's just mentioned once, really early on in the prologue. It's one line.
I don't remember
that. Pazuzu.
Yeah, the Eastern Wind or whatever.
I must have not been fully paying attention in the first like 10 minutes of listening.
That prologue's really like flowery prose and everything, so I can see getting lost in that a little bit. The church vandalism, all the details about the church vandalisms and like what exactly they found in it, which is great because you only see a little bit in the movie.
Right.
And like the details about the black masses, about what they're doing, like fuck, I don't know if anybody ever did this, but it's fucking cool.
Right.
Yeah, like how like Chris is like looking into it herself because she's curious and she reads onto it like the description, like it shows her in the audio, the book, that details her like stopping reading because she has to like grasp what they're detailing in the word that she's reading, that she's like depicting in her head, and she's like, holy fuck, she's like,
the book is graphic, dude.
Yes,
I mean, Blatty gets into it, man.
Oh yeah,
I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah,
especially a book from 1971,
right?
Which just blows my mind even more. What a genius! Fuck.
One thing I wanted to say real quick about Blatty was he wrote, like Ozzie was saying, he wrote comedies, and then he decides, I'm going to write The Exorcist, and they're saying, what we're gonna make a movie by this guy that writes comedies, this Exorcist movie, that's not going to work. And then after that was made, he would try to go back to comedies, and they said, we're going to make a comedy by the guy that did The Exorcist. That's not going to work. He's like, God damn it.
It's so funny that you mentioned that because I was talking to my buddy about how that guy, I think his name is Todd Phillips, and he did the Joker film.
Yeah.
But he was also the guy that did the Hangover movies.
And all those,
And now, if he goes back to do like a stupid funny movie, people are gonna look at him weird.
That's
And
right.
I was like, "Fuck!" I was like, "That's so funny that you say that right now."
It makes me think of 1989 casting Michael Keaton as Batman and the backlash that got. And they're like, Mr. Mom's gonna play fucking Batman? That's not gonna work out.
He's a fucking wimp.
Yeah, he's a wimp. Right. He's a comedy guy. He's a stand-up comedian.
Well,
Batman. And then they saw a trailer and they're like, I'm sorry I said anything bad.
I'm so sorry.
If anybody wants to watch part 3 of The Exorcist Legion, it's someone uploaded the entire movie to YouTube and it's in good quality too.
Yeah, I've seen it on there.
I have the Arrow or the Shout release or Scream Factory release, which is great. It has all the different versions. That has the even like a more extended clip, but it's a long movie already. So extended's pretty fucking crazy.
How many different versions have there been of that movie?
Just 2. There's the version, the theatrical version, and then there's like Blatty's extended version. And they leave it in like you can see where it looks like what's that thing where it's like an unfinished version, but
it's
like the Burbs had it on his Blu-ray.
Yeah, it's like not color corrected.
Yeah.
More raw footage.
Yeah, there's a name for it, but I can't remember at the moment. But it has parts of that
and stuff like that.
Yeah. But man, I'm so glad that I finally got around to doing this book. It's such a fucking pleasure.
Another thing I kind of
listen to it.
Yeah.
Another thing that was kind of a revelation to me going through the book is like Chris McNeil's kind of an asshole.
Yes.
Explain. What do you mean?
Sharon.
She treats her help like shit.
Oh yeah, like Carl always trying to be
shit. Yeah, Carl is like trying so hard, and she's just like, "Fuck you, Carl!
Fuck you, you Swiss piece of shit."
Yeah.
She gets racial.
She's just like yelling at fucking everybody, and I understand she's under distress and she's very overwhelmed, but actually she's kind of a bitch from the get-go. Like
I didn't like it. Every time she talks to Sharon and like the way she would snap at Sharon, even before the paranormal shit started happening. Like she's I was like Jesus Christ,
I
dude.
felt bad for Sharon. I was like, get out of this job, Sharon. You could do better.
I'm glad you mentioned that about Sharon.
This uptight fucking actress,
Which makes more sense when you watch the movie because like Sharon quits at the end of the movie. She's just like, "Are you sure you won't stay?" And she's like, "I'm sure." Like, trust me.
I'm fucking sure. Your daughter just turned into the devil.
Yeah, and you treat her like a servant. Fuck
yeah. The whole thing in the book about Sharon being a Christian and how she was talking to Reagan about God.
Yeah.
And how Chris wanted to stamp that out immediately because Chris herself was an atheist. I don't think they even go into that really in the movie.
They do not.
It's not mentioned. It's sort of implied that she's just not a believer,
Yeah, well, the psychologist asked her, like, do you have any religious beliefs? And she's like, no.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's mentioned.
That's about at the end of it. Does Reagan? No. And that's about it. Yeah. Oh, also, there's the moment in the movie where she discovers that a crucifix has been placed under Reagan's pillow or in her bed. And she finds it. She goes asking all the servants, like, did you fucking put this here, you fucking asshole?
Yeah.
Because she treats them like shit. They're like, no, ma'am, no, please don't hit me again. But in
Mr. Simpson, no.
I feel like it kind of came across too that that Chris was low key jealous of Sharon with all the time that she spent with Reagan.
Oh, okay.
I didn't even pick up on that, but yeah, I think you're right.
I thought maybe I'm reaching a bit, but I felt like that could have been something that Blatty was trying to nonchalantly put like out there that. Because she always came to Sharon questioning her, and then Karis was like, "Oh, like, did you teach Reagan how to speak Latin?" And then I don't know. I might be reaching, but I felt like
no, I don't think you are.
A subliminal thing.
Next, I'm going to go back through the book, and I will listen for that next time.
Yeah, let me know if I'm wrong. Wrong. Listeners,
let me know if I'm wrong. I don't think so. But yeah, so in the book, wait, what's Carl's wife's name again?
Willie.
Or something. I'm sorry.
Steve.
It's Carl and Steve, and they're in love.
Willie,
This is my wife, Steven.
Willie at some point confesses to that. Like, she's like, yes, I did put that under there. Doesn't she? Am I misremembering?
I want to agree with you.
I don't think she does. Happened. She does mention about the book. She found the witchcraft book and put it back in the. Yes. She found it under Reagan's bed, and Chris keeps going like, "Did you really find it under her bed?" And she's like, "Yeah, I found it. I put it back. It was under your daughter's bed." Yeah.
Did you put
I think
it
that
there?
Maybe what you're thinking of.
Like, yes, I put it there. I could have
sworn, especially like when Carl's telling her like there's no rats.
And I was watching the movie and she denies the crucifix thing, and I was like, that's not what happens in the book. Like, it's weird. Yeah. Change that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no rats.
No rats.
Yeah, he's like
it's clean.
Oh, like example, like when she goes into the attic and then the candle just goes on her. And like that was like the first thing that literally made me go kind of like it kind of I didn't expect it, you know, when I first saw that.
Oh man, I very much remember being in the movie theater watching that, you know, extended version. The entire theater just fucking jumped out of their seats when that happened.
Which is crazy for what?
And this isn't a movie for jump scares like that, guys. Like
no. A lot of people these days, a lot of kids like Zoomers and stuff would think this movie's boring.
You know, behind the scenes, what Friedkin had to do to get fucking Ellen Bernstein to jump when that flame went up. He didn't tell her. He did not tell her that was going to happen.
Friedkin is a terror.
Is that also the moment where he fired a gun off, not telling her to get it to react?
Probably. He used to fire guns off all the time.
No, he didn't tell him. And to get her to go, you know, be startled, he fired a fucking gun off on set. Like
he shot her in the stomach.
I really highly suggest to everyone listening as well, if you haven't already, the Friedkin commentary version during the extended cut is very insightful. Like what he talks about, like he even like voices his regrets for leaving certain things out because he said we were already pushing the envelope as much as we could with a theatrical release, that he said that he just did what he could to stay true to it. But like
you read about, see about the things that he did while he was like in his prime, like French Connection, The Exorcist, Sorcerer, the things that he used to do, like he did not give a shit. Like they were strapping cameras into cars and driving through real traffic during French Connection.
It was the 70s.
It was the 70s. I think the 70s are probably the most important decade of filmmaking as far as like the revolution.
Also the least give a shit era of America.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was like rampant murders and crimes and then just like badass filmmakers.
Yeah.
Got Scorsese making Dog Day Afternoon and shit, and it's just
man.
Yeah,
but there will never be a movie like that.
Yeah,
I love the story of Friedkin trying to get to the Oscars.
Oh, I don't know that.
Oh, really? So, he it was Oscar night, and he had to be there because his movies were nominated and shit. And he didn't have a dime to his name at the time still. he had a shitty jalopy car that was like, you know, on its last leg. And he tried to drive this shitty car out to the Oscars to get himself there, and it broke down on like the fucking 101 freeway in LA. No, true story. And he fucking thumbed a ride to the Oscars.
That's
he flagged on some car, and it was a guy. Yeah, he flagged down some car, and it was a guy, and he's like, hey, do you know who I am? Have you seen The Exorcist? Well, I directed that, and I need to get the Oscars. He's like, yeah, I've seen The Exorcist. Like, okay, like, let's go. You know, he said it was something about like, I'm late for a date with my wife, and she's gonna be pissed. So like, you have to tell her that this happened to me. So like, so he picks up William Friedkin on the side of the fucking road next to this broken down car and drives him over to the theater in Hollywood where the Oscars were happening. And William Friedkin makes a call he says, "You got to call my wife," and he makes a call to this guy's wife, and he says, "I'm sorry, I'm William Friedkin. We're at the Oscars right now."
She goes, "Who's William Friedkin?"
No, like I think she knew and everything, but
Yeah.
The movie in my mind of
It's
that
so-
scene when he
it's
gets
so
in.
great. And he got there, and what did they? How many Oscars did that movie fucking win?
I'm not sure. That's actually a good. I'd have to look that up.
3? You want to look that up? 3 or 4? Yeah.
I'll look it up. But that scene, if it was a movie in my mind, he gets in the truck and it starts playing "Can't Eat." Old in a country, where they're gonna go.
It's the lady from Misery that picks him up.
So I'll look it up.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Um.
Head spinning, vomit. I'm going through the Wikipedia.
Oh no. So what else? I think I don't ever want to watch the regular version of the movie again.
Oh, I totally disagree.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, I actually think that the theatrical version is better.
Wow, because it's tighter.
I think it's tighter. I don't like the cheesy little edits of the face in the kitchen and stuff like that. I think it's just cheesy.
That's kind of what I was saying earlier. Is that what I realized that are not my favorite parts of the version you've never seen are like the effects that they added back in, like the spider walking down the stairs, the stupid cheesy faces that flash in the dark. That's not what I like. I'm learning. I didn't
even mind the spider scene that much.
What I do like are the reinserted cutscenes that just build more on character and plot. And
yeah,
stuff like
the stuff that's like the shock factor is not really.
No, but it just felt so much more full of a movie with that stuff in.
So this is surprising. How many Oscars did you say you thought it won, Ozzie?
I'm pretty sure it won Best Adapted Screenplay.
Okay, yeah, it won 2 Oscars, Best Adapted Screenplay, and it got 10 nominations, and then Best Sound.
Sound, okay.
Yeah, which the sound is off the hook. I mean, it's fucking great.
What soundtrack when that music plays?
Yeah. What did it lose to? What did win Best Picture Director?
Let's see. It's 1970. What
73?
did the?
I can't even think of it now. 73. Is that right?
It came out in 73.
Yes. Right. Huh.
All hell broke. There's a whole article. All hell broke loose. Exorcist was snubbed 1974. It's probably gonna be some shitty movie, dude.
I think so.
The Oscars are so much bullshit.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Let's go through this, but
I just, I love that story of Friedkin, like on his last leg, on his last penny.
Yeah.
In a tuxedo trying to get to the goddamn Oscars.
Yeah.
Which is so emblematic of the Oscars in a whole, It's emblematic of the snubs that happen all the time. And these people that are auteurs that have a broken down fucking car. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
That's Hollywood, man.
That's fucked up.
That's show business, baby.
Yeah. The movie that won Best Picture was The Sting, which is a fucking great movie.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and this, it won the best. Yeah, Best Picture was The Sting. Yeah, that's what I can find.
It didn't win makeup for what they did with Father Merrin?
With Dick Smith and everything. Did they even have a makeup category back then? I'm not sure.
That's the gentleman that plays Father Merrin. That's his name.
No, Dick Smith.
Dick Smith is the makeup artist.
Oh well, since you bring up Father Merrin, the guy that plays Father Merrin, the gentleman,
Max von Sydow.
He has another role that I had no idea that he was. Do you know what it is? It's in Flash Gordon, and he plays Ming.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That's right.
Yes.
In Brown.
Flash.
Savior of the universe. I actually met Sam Jones last year.
Did you?
Wow, that's
Yeah,
cool.
I got him to
love
sign
this.
my Flash Jordan comic book.
I love his appearance in that. What's the movie with
Ted.
Wahlberg and the bear? Ted. Yes.
Yeah.
That was my favorite moment in that whole movie.
Hey, you guys party?
That's wild. Why do you think they had to cast? Why couldn't they have cast?
Why didn't they just get an old guy?
Yes.
I'm assuming that they were going to try to do at some point like a flashback where he was younger, and it didn't happen.
Oh, okay, maybe
Like they do in part 2.
That was never in the book, you know.
No.
But or
Here's
maybe
my-
this
here's
like
my-
Saito made a point to like maybe he just killed the audition, said like I can do it, I can be an old man.
Here's my assumption. They didn't want to hire an old man who might die during production.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
It's a safety net for them.
Yeah.
It's that. Well, we could hire a 70-year-old man, but like we don't fully believe
But his
that like
delivery is
his
just
shooting,
so powerful.
especially if we're firing off guns behind his head.
I have the perfect person for Father Marin.
Yeah.
Mitch McConnell.
Jesus Christ.
He's just like
He's just bubbling. We need to get this demon out of this trial.
They sneak up a gun behind him and blast it off, and he's like, "Down I go." Oh,
No, there's only one. There's only one demon.
God damn it.
But man, Max's delivery for Father Marin, it's my favorite performance in the movie.
Yeah.
Do you think Marin belongs on this artwork?
Yes.
Yeah, why not? It's such an iconic scene.
It is an iconic scene, but I especially after getting through the book, I felt that like this is definitely Karras's story.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I never really felt that way in the movie exactly, but after going through the book, I'm like, this is a Damien Karras fucking story. He is the main character of this book. You know.
Yeah.
And Marin seems sort of like to be more sidelined in the book, and he didn't even appear again until the last
act.
The last, not even like
it's half of the last act.
The last act, yeah. Oh, so by the way, this book is broken up into parts and chapters.
Yeah. Which confused me while I was doing the audiobook. I said, wait a second, why am I in chapter 2 again? And I started to flip back. I'm like, God damn, what's going on?
Yes. I did the same thing.
I love in the audiobook, if you're listening to it and you're like getting into it and then it starts skipping and Helder slowly and Helder slowly. And then you're like, what the fuck?
No.
And like
what's going on?
In the comments on the YouTube video were like adding on how like it actually adds like a creepiness effect to the audiobook because it skips so much.
Like Pazuzu is taking over the internet while you're listening.
Yeah, it was just a nice little quirky thing that I read. But I kind of disagree partially because I feel that the whole tone of the movie is good versus evil, and the focus may seem like it draws on Karras a whole lot, but I feel like it's just because we get so much of evil. Evil is at play. Evil is at play with Chris, with the people, the housekeepers, with Burt Dennings, Kinderman. Everyone's being altered and swayed and manipulated by evil. And Father Marin is the epitome of good, the good that triumphs over the evil. So I felt that the story's good versus evil. The clash is foreshadowed at the beginning, and then we get the final clash at the end. Like the movie's titled The Exorcist, so I feel like I was kind of like struggling with myself. I was struggling with myself because I also watched the movie for the first time, and I would think about it like, well, I'm like, Father Karras wasn't even considered to perform the exorcism by the church.
He said this shit hasn't been done for 300 years or something.
Yeah, and like the priesthood, they didn't even think Karras should perform the exorcism because they're like, oh, we need someone with more experience.
Yeah.
You know
And they're like,
what scene hit me even harder this time? I didn't realize how badass it was until I watched it again. Was when he's going down into the little area at the bottom of the stairs to rest, and Chris comes out and she says, "Is my daughter gonna die?" And he has his head down. He looks up and he goes, "No," and he walks back up there and starts punching the shit out of the girl. I'm like, that's badass.
Yeah. You know what?
Yeah.
I kind of felt that especially after getting through the book, I felt that the overall theme was not necessarily good versus evil, but old evil versus modern science.
Yeah.
That's touched on quite a bit.
That was like the overall theme to me, and that was Karras's internal struggle, was that he was so well informed and educated with modern science and psychology and stuff like that's what was kind of prohibiting him from seeing the purity of good and evil.
It's like faith versus reason.
That's right. That was the big struggle, which I really appreciated in the book.
Yeah, like he even makes the point to say to Chris, like, "Oh, like, well, haven't you seen an exorcism?" And like how Matt said, like, there hasn't been an exorcism; it just doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah,
he's like, not since. He's like, not since. He's like, yeah, he's like, not since the church started accepting schizophrenia and mental illness and personality disorder and all that stuff. Like, he's like, the church, like, they take it to like mental illness level. At that point, they don't take it to that level.
I wonder how the church feels these days about it.
He's struggling and fighting. He's struggling and fighting with the entire what's the word for the greater church, Catholic Church? The entire
the diocese, not the diocese, but the I know what you're saying.
I'm blanking right now.
Let's say the Vatican.
Yeah.
The official stance of
cardinal law.
The official stance of the Catholic Church, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he's
the popery.
He's fighting that, even, which is pretty crazy. And I got that sensation so much more in the book than I ever did in the movie.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate.
I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. Have any of you guys ever experienced anything like?
And he asked it.
I normally ask this as one of the main questions when I have a guest on for the first time, is if they ever experienced anything paranormal in their life,
or specifically revolving around the idea of exorcism or possession.
I have stories about that.
I wouldn't say the extent of possession or exorcism, but I'll just say for sake of time that I was a very young child, and the house that my grandfather built was a very old house, and my parents, at some point, we lived here with my siblings, and so I was walking down the hall. It was late at night, like 2 a.m, and I was just like, I felt cold at night, but it was in the middle of the summer, and I remember walking down the hall, getting some water, and go back to the room, and then like I felt like a sensation like that you get when someone like walks up behind you and like puts like a head next to your neck, and then I could have swore I just heard go, "Hey," and then I like ran to my room, and like that was like the only time I can account of something like that.
That's
creepy.
Yeah.
That's pretty creepy.
So
I'm okay now.
I remember walking into a church service once.
Ooh, okay.
I don't remember why the church service. So I never really had a church, or I went to church, but oftentimes friends or acquaintances or people I'd know would say, "Hey, why don't you come to my church?" And I'd go check it out from time to time. I've been in a lot of different churches just because I find it kind of fascinating.
Just kind of like a study, case study thing.
Yeah, sort of. A friend I had in junior high named Josh.
Oh,
I don't know.
ironic.
I'm sure Matt possibly remembers Josh.
Yeah.
He was what's the Christian sect that shakes on the floor and
Pentecostal.
Pentecostal, yeah.
he was
That's
Pentecostal.
the church that I grew up in.
Really? Okay.
Yes.
Oh
Because
boy.
my first experience in that kind of thing was goddamn terrifying to me.
Yeah.
I did not know how to feel when they were doing this shaking, and I wasn't expecting it. Like, I didn't know. You could say back then when I was 14 or whatever, you could say Pentecostal, and I wouldn't know what that meant exactly. You know,
Yeah.
I thought it was a metal band.
it was not.
Pentecost.
Pentecostal.
I love their album, The Blood.
Yeah, the whole idea of people shaking.
When I started seeing that, that was one of the moments that I was like more legitimately scared than I've ever been in my life. I was so uncomfortable, and all of a sudden these people started shaking and falling on the ground. The pastor was hitting them on the fucking head, and they were falling over on the ground and shaking and speaking in tongues. And I just my mind was blown, you know. But another moment,
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, Matt, what was that church on Hemlock Street? You know that church?
It's the Trinity Church.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
You know,
the Hoaglands.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's why that was happening. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You forgot the Hoaglands?
I did. Their father was the pastor.
Yeah.
God fucking damn it. Okay, so they were having a church.
His daughter was hot as fuck too.
Everybody wanted to fuck Debbie Hoagland.
Everybody wants the preacher's daughter.
We should probably cut that out of the podcast.
Debbie Hoagland, if you're out there, I'm sure you'd appreciate it at this time in our lives. Like, yeah.
We think upon
I'm sure
you.
she's still smoking hot, dude.
Very fucking.
Just
Anyway.
like a fine wine, brother.
We only really hung around that church to skateboard and stuff.
Yeah,
and
In your
vandalize.
Jinko jeans.
It was near and my corn T-shirt. No, we would hang out there and kind of skate and stuff, and just like be and just like hang out, waste time. Yeah, one evening there was a service happening inside, and we were out there with our stuff and I don't know, smoking or something, and we were like, oh, let's go in here for kicks, and we went and sat in on the service, and the whole time the pastor was talking about a time that he exorcised a demon from a child.
Whoa. Shit.
You must have not been there, Matt, I guess.
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
Missed that day.
The whole story was a seemingly literal story of an exorcism, and I could not walk away. I sat through the whole thing.
Wow.
Yes, and it was explained as if it was a real thing, as if it actually happened, as if this child was actually possessed by demons, and they expelled the demons. It was mind-boggling, and it will always stick with me that I heard them speak in earnest about an exorcism that they had performed on a child.
Yeah.
So Josh, you must have seen that kind of stuff growing up Pentecostal.
Yeah, that's what I was going to piggyback off of what Ozzie was saying. Like, when it's assumed that when people shake and visit like on the ground and all that kind of stuff, all that
Speak in tongues.
Yeah, all the theatrics. Yeah, it's implied that like the spirit of the Holy Ghost encomes your body, and
Yeah.
you just like
That's sexy.
the physical form. The
Say it
physical
slower.
Yeah.
encomes the body.
The Holy Ghost skeets all over you.
Rub Pazuzu nipples. It's just assumed that like our physical forms can't handle that level of intensity of otherworldly power. So that's what causes that. But yeah, I did see that quite a bit growing up. Never quite understood it. The whole time that I grew up in church, I always was just like, oh, I'm just glad that there's kids around for me to play with and like
Same
hang out.
my
Like,
church experience.
yeah, like I didn't really breathe into it. I would listen to sermons, and there was things that definitely stick with me because you grow up in that, so you're kind of like ingrained into the thought process of how they think and what they teach you. But it always just seemed off. It always seemed like I could probably relate to Father Karras. I was always doubtful, and I never really accepted it.
Yeah, and you're gonna find the logical scientific angle at what was being dealt with. Like for instance, like a lot of religions have some good things to say about things like cleanliness, for instance. And back then they didn't understand that the reason that you wanted to keep clean was because of things like disease and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They thought they equated it to demons. You know,
you don't want your dick falling off.
However, they were right.
Yeah.
About the importance of being clean.
Yeah. Staying away from pork when they didn't know about like pathogens and stuff like that in the pork.
But they were wrong about why it was happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of truth to that kind of stuff, And I tell you, when I was sitting in that sermon and those preachers were talking about exercising children, I'll never get over the passion that they had. Not the passion, that's not the right word, but
conviction.
Yes, thank you. They believed it, and that was so powerful. That was so powerful. Even though I don't believe it, it was just the feeling, the power was overwhelming.
90% of the church experience is how good the pastor is, and like
that's true.
And
like
I went through a phase where I was like I wasn't believing at all, and then we went to a Salvation Army. It was a Scottish pastor who was the best fucking speaker I've ever heard, and then suddenly like I'm throwing my hands up and stuff. I'm like, oh, this isn't really me, but this guy's really good.
It's kind of making sense of it. Yeah.
There's
My
definitely good people in the faith.
Yeah, for sure.
My wife's family went to a church, and that pastor was great actually, because he would work his sermons around actual historical context, which I appreciated. And so he would give kind of a history lesson first, and then turn it into what that meant in religion, which was sometimes very compelling.
And then right at the end, he'd go, and that's why women can't vote. And everyone goes, what? Wait, this took a turn.
No, everyone goes, yeah.
I want to point out too that I like how like the discussion ends up turning to us like experiences with our own faith and like what we thought about it, and like the dissertation in our brains and minds of our doubt. And I feel like this is what William Peter Blatty intended with the book and the content, was to make people think about this and really take it into consideration. Like I feel like
something this movie and story can do.
Yes. I really feel like that's what one of his goals was, because he was really convinced. He was so enriched with. He was a very faithful man. Like this is a man who died believing in Jesus Christ. Yeah. So the fact that he made this movie, I feel like he made it, or like the fact that he wrote this book, I feel like was as raw and as uncensored, and how like horrible some of the things might be conveyed. It serves a purpose. It serves a purpose to like really depict what evil can do to you, and like the perversion of a young girl, a young innocent child, and what evil could do. Like it's really powerful message.
And also it wouldn't have that power if Karras wasn't the main character, struggling with reason over and logic over religion. It wouldn't speak to people like us that look for reason as much if they were just like, a lot of these movies that deal in exorcism or Catholicism, they don't have a character like that that's like really stacking it up against logic. It's just like, this is how it is. Evil is real. It's all real, and it's like, wow, okay, hang on. I don't know if I buy that,
I really like how Karras is supposed to depict like us in the story, like we
That's
are
right.
Father Karras. So
That's right.
I agree with that. I'll agree with that.
Mhm.
That's why we want to have you on next week to talk about the real good movie, Exorcist Believer.
Oh my gosh, please. I do not.
Ozzie, don't leave. Ozzie, come back.
Ozzie slides
I'm just joking.
off camera.
Oh,
Oh,
I'll send you
please
guys
don't
the
make
book
me.
adaptation of it.
Oh God, I don't know.
So is that, dude? Is that the one that fucking what's his name
David
made?
Gordon Green.
Cliffhanger guy. Oh, okay. Oh,
The
that's
newest
the
one.
latest one. I have
It's got 2 girls in it.
Aliens. How about?
Yeah.
Uh,
Exorcists.
no. What was that shitty one that fucking the cliffhanger guy made?
Exorcist
Couldn't
movie?
tell you.
Yeah. What's the
Well,
director that did like Cliffhanger and Nightmare on Elm Street fucking 4?
There's been a lot of shitty Exorcist movies. I mean,
Yeah.
That was the shittiest one I think I've ever seen, though.
Didn't they do like 4 and 5?
It was Beginnings.
Rennie Harlan did. He
Thank you.
did one of the Exorcist movies, and then like it was the one that they kept re-releasing in different versions.
That's right, because it was so fucked up. They kept trying to retool it and re-release it.
Yeah,
I saw that first version. It was a goddamn mess. I turned it off after half an hour.
Exorcist: The Beginning is the one that he did.
The Beginning.
He took over from Paul Schrader because Paul Schrader was doing Dominion prequel to The Exorcist, and they're like, "This is awful. We're having someone else take over."
That was one of the messiest movies I've ever seen.
Yeah,
it was.
That's where I've seen him before.
It was crap. Yeah.
Lee Cobb that plays Kinderman. He's one of the main guys on the Waterfront movie with Marlon Brando.
Oh, on the Waterfront.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I haven't seen that in 20 years, but yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I was so thrilled about my connection to his character going through the book.
Yeah,
I know.
He was my go-to character in the whole story. I feel like he should have been on the fucking jacket of the book.
Yeah, like circling all the way back to like when you bring up how like we were talking about how the exorcism was lasting days, and there was that break where Father Karras went to the Jesuit barracks or the apartments wherever they were staying at, and he ran into Father Dyer, but he also runs into Kinderman because Kinderman's stalking and staking out the house
right there. Yeah,
he's watching them, and he runs into Karras, and Karras can like barely stand up and walk because he's so exhausted, but he's like holding it together so he can humor Kinderman because he doesn't want to be rude to him.
How funny would it be?
And he says, "Hey, if you ever meet a guy named Carl, right? Tell him." What does he ask him to tell him? Because he gets his daughter into a rehab program.
Yeah.
How
funny would it be during the final exorcism scene when she's floating in the air? Kinderman kicks down the door and puts 6 slugs in her.
That would be great. Yeah.
And
Kinderman to the rescue again. Yeah.
Cops definitely weren't telling you to freeze and put your hands up. They were unloading.
They start high-fiving.
Yeah.
Demon's dead, man.
And then Popeye Doyle shows up and
roughs up some guy.
Yeah.
Fellas, it's been fun.
Yeah. What else?
Thanks for coming on to talk about The Exorcist.
Oh yeah, I love this movie.
I'm urging you guys to watch part 3. I think you'll like it.
I hope we do a follow-up because I'm gonna watch part 3. I'm actually really egged on to like watch it like very soon. I might do it start tonight.
Set aside some time. It's a long one.
Not only do I want to do that, but I want to get through the novel Legion as well.
Yeah, yes. I'd like to read that too.
Find an audiobook. And I don't know if I want to start with that because like you guys, I don't remember who said it at the top of the show. But
if it was something smart, it was probably me.
God damn it.
I second that.
Thank you,
Oh.
Josh.
No, but how a novel might ruin a movie for you, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll probably watch the movie first and then read it.
I am right there with you, Josh, because I think that if I hit the book first, I will not like the movie, because that's been happening to me recently. Actually, I've been retroactively over the last year or so going through a lot of novels that movies were made that I love, you know, based on these novels.
Yeah.
And it's just all it's been doing is ruining fucking movies for me. And
Joe
I'm
Bob Briggs hates part 3.
Watching the movies and then reading the book makes me feel like, oh, they didn't mention this, and like it amplifies the story for me.
I know, I've been on a Stephen King kick, and I just got through Pet Sematary, and it's one of my favorite Stephen King stories. And I've never seen that movie before, actually. So I put the movie on after I got
some of the worst acting ever.
Holy shit! I hated it. I fucking hated it.
The dad in that is one of the worst actors ever.
It's horse shit.
It's
and
like, my son died. Fuck.
Yeah. Right. But
Terrible.
It's wrenching in the
rats.
Yeah. Anyway,
in the attic.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna watch the movie, then do the book.
Yeah.
Exorcist 3.
Hell yeah.
Legion. Yes.
And then I'm going to get a Pazuzu T-shirt that looks better than Ozzie's.
Thank you. Finally show him up.
Challenge. Yeah. All right.
Because I'm jealous of it and I want one too.
And I'm taking off my shirt for the next show after you guys.
I'll send it to you. You know what? I'll take it off right now and I'll send it to you. And
leave it on.
He did a lot of gardening today, by the way.
This is a Rambo.
It's really hot out.
I find any excuse to take my shirt off.
I know, right?
I'll find an excuse to dress up like Rusty Chain again.
Full circle.
The guitar. All right, guys. This is fun. And check out Frank Welker Wonder Hour. Check out all the other shows on Gangline Assembly. Do we have other shows on Gangline Assembly at the? Oh, we have movies as comics. We have comics of the week, right?
Yep. Yeah, we call it Keeping Up with Comics.
Keeping Up with Comics. Thank you. Yeah,
nice.
We're trying to read contemporary comics, which is sort of new to us, but you know, we're trying to keep up with the industry. We're trying to keep up with what's going on in comic books today, which has been fun for us. And check it out, and hopefully it's fun for you as well.
And the new show, Fashion Talk with Matt. I haven't told you about that. I'm going to pitch it to you.
You haven't. Otherwise, I would have put the block on that.
Shit.
Yeah, immediately.
All right, guys. This is fun.
I was just going to say piggybacking on the...
Yeah, go for it, Josh. What were you going to say?
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. I think there's like a slight delay, so I'm not trying to talk over you guys. But I was just saying, piggybacking off of Ozzie, I do a live stream every Wednesday, guys. 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I do Decrepit comic reviews, so check it out on the Bastards Network YouTube page.
Network on YouTube.
Yeah, no, just shameless plug, real quick.
No, it's my fault. I should have given you a chance.
Absolutely. And check out Matt's OnlyFans page, you know, because there's some spicy stuff going on there.
It's all butthole pics. Just close.
I am subscribed, guys. I'm a subscriber.
It's worth the money, trust me. I get into some dirty shit.
All $2.99.
All right.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Peace.